I'm very glad to see that you're so excited about sleep that you joined me in the second part. If you're coming from part one, you already know how important sleep is for our body. You already know what great impact it has on us if we deprive ourselves from sleep. This impact is especially pronounced for cognitive abilities. That is why in this part I will focus on the link between sleep and cognitive abilities, specifically our memory and learning ability. Now, before we look at what's going on in the brain when we're sleeping and how this links all to our memory and learning ability, I want to make sure that every one of you has a basic understanding, basic knowledge about memory. The most important part in the brain that's responsible for our memory is the hippocampus. The hippocampus stores our memory, but it also is involved and is needed when we want to form new memories. Now, forming new memories is essentially equivalent to learning something new. Also, memory is a multi-stage process. It starts with forming a new memory, so learning something new, then goes to a consolidation stage where you make what you've learned stronger in the brain. You basically help yourself to not forget what you've just learned, make what you've learned stronger and better rememberable until you get to the last stage, the retrieval stage, when you will actually retrieve or remember what you've learned. In this video, I will not so much talk about the retrieval stage as such. However, the retrieval stage is actually dependent on the first two stages. So if you've done very well in the first two stages, then you'll be able to remember, retrieve the memory better, more successfully. Right. Let's start with forming new memories. In the hippocampus, the center for our memories, new cells are born when we learn something new. Our brain produces new cells when we form a new memory. This process is called neurogenesis. Now, when we sleep, everything happens as normal. We produce these new cells, we form new memories. However, if we are sleep deprived, this ability to produce new cells is impacted. It's impacted so much that after only 4 days of total sleep deprivation, which is actually quite a long time, I'm not sure if any one of you has ever done that and were successful in not sleeping for 4 days, but if you're deprived of sleep for 4 days, your ability to produce new cells in the hippocampus is reduced by 50%. So you only have half your normal ability of forming new memories. Now, the thing is that this ability to form new memories, this ability to produce new cells, is not just impacted on right when we're sleep deprived, right after the night when we didn't get enough sleep. This effect also lasts a bit longer. So even a couple of days after you were sleep deprived, your brain still struggles to produce these new cells to the same extent as it can usually do that. So even a couple of days later, your sleep deprivation shows and impacts on your ability to learn something new and form new memories. The second stage, the consolidation stage, is also impacted on when we deprive ourselves from sleep. Basically, you need to understand that the hippocampus is the most important part in the brain for memories. However, actually a lot of different areas in the brain are involved for every memory we have. Essentially, you can imagine it in that way. When you form a new memory, when you learn something new, certain areas in your brain are activated depending on the type of processing you're carrying out. So what type of stimuli you're seeing, what things you're hearing. So this determines what areas in the brain will be activated right in the moment when you learn something new, form a new memory, go through an experience. the very same areas that were activated in this first place at the time of forming this new memory, the very same areas are reactivated when we consolidate our memory. So to make a memory stronger, the same brain areas that belong to this one memory need to be reactivated or replayed. This usually happens when we're sleeping. That's super interesting that our brain basically remembers what we've learned when we're sleeping. We're just not aware of it. But from a physiological point of view, it does, because the very same brain areas are activated when we're sleeping, the very same areas that belong to a certain memory we formed. Now, if we don't get enough sleep, if we don't allow our body to sleep, that means our body has less time to reactivate all these memories, to replay them in our head and to make them stronger. That means, in the end, that we'll be more likely to forget what we've learned. And last thing is that the hippocampus, so the most important area, as I mentioned, for your memory, is generally less activated, less active after a sleep-deprived night. So when you deprive yourself from sleep, your hippocampus has a reduced activity, which links again to both forming new memories but also consolidating memories. Overall, this shows you that sleep is really important. It again shows you that you should try to take care of your sleep and not to deprive yourself from the amount of hours you need to function to your optimal level on the next day. Right, one last thing that's really interesting is to look at the different types of memory that are impacted by sleep deprivation. So memories are not all the same, obviously. We have different types. For example, you can categorize them by emotional valence. So memories can be linked to a positive emotion, but also to a negative emotion. For example, a memory with a positive emotional link would be when you received a gift from a friend. On the other hand, a memory with a negative emotional link would be when you, for example, lost your key, or, well, that's not a very good example, when your friend moved away, let's say that. Right. The interesting part there is that sleep deprivation impacts on this basically remembering what, or it impacts on what type of emotional memory we keep. If you're sleep deprived, your positive memories will be forgotten more easily, while the negative memories are more resistant to the sleep deprivation. They keep in our head. But who wants it? Who wants to remember only the negative things that happened in their life? We want to have all the positive memories, right? We want to remember all the good things that happened to us. However, if we're sleep deprived, these negative memories will be more prevalent, and the positive memories will actually be forgotten more easily. This again links into how sleep impacts on your emotions and mood in general. However, I will cover that in the next part. So if you want to hear more about that, keep watching. And until then, have a great time, guys.